What's crack, it's VangelinaSkov, and today we're going to be talking about Team Pinata. Now obviously I thought they were gone from the internet, and so did you, but they're back, kind of. They've made a very lengthy post talking about everything that happened, the drama, and their thoughts now on all of it. So we're just going to be going through that, talking about what people have to say about it, and what it might mean for the future. It's weird, because yesterday I live streamed, and people were saying, are you going to be doing any more videos on the DID community? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think so, maybe not. What do you guys want? And everybody said, yeah, we want more videos on that. And then Team Pinata was like, hi, I'm back on the internet. So anyway, very odd, unimportant, and I'm not gonna give you 2 minutes explaining why I decided to make this video because nobody cares. So let's just actually talk about what's going on. But before we get into that, please subscribe and click the bell button to get notifications when I upload, and also consider becoming a member by pressing the little join button thing down there. Right, so if for some reason you've clicked on this video and you don't know what's happening up until now, to sum it up as briefly as I can, Team Pinata were a DID channel who got sort of kicked out of the community for drawing CP. I've made far too many videos on the topic, so if you want to hear about that in more depth, I have those videos already, so just go watch those. So to everybody it looked like they were leaving the internet forever, especially after their fiancé and partner system dissociated, pretty much denounced them on Instagram and said, we didn't know about any of this, we don't condone this. You get the gist. But a couple of hours ago they posted on YouTube, not a video, but a community tab post. And it's very, very long, so let's do our best to go through it and break it up and talk about it. Now right off the bat we know it's not actually Nan, the host, who is making this post, it's Riven, because they say, hey, it's Riven, I know I'm very intelligent, let's just move on. We've been offline for the last several weeks and no coming back will cause backlash, but we've been encouraged by professionals to reclaim our voice. This address is meant to share our truth and point out some major concerns we have with the community we once tried to support. This is not to invalidate people, because it makes sense and is valid why people are hurt. So this channel now lies empty, which, as you know, is because they deleted all their videos, or privated, not sure. We started making videos to spread awareness and support for those with DID in September of 2017. We spent 2 years of that time not monetized, spreading awareness because we wanted to be a voice for folks who live with this particular trauma condition. Once we became monetized, this allowed us to reach an ever-widening audience about our experience with DID. I've been on Twitter to see what people are saying about this, and I've seen a couple of people point out that they're not sure why Riven is talking about being monetized and how that affected their audience. And yeah, it doesn't really make sense that having money gets you more of an audience. It seems like the opposite way around. The more of an audience you have, the more money you make. I don't know, I think I kind of get what they're saying there, but just thought I'd point that out. As a system, we've gone through many changes and struggles during this time. We've shown the internet our vulnerability because we saw it as helping people. It was also healing to us and got us in better communication with each other. We were able to connect with each other as a system more and more, and we found comrades and friends within the DID community. I'm sorry, no, the reason I'm laughing is because Comrade is one of the people on the Kiwi Farms threads. I just think it's a funny choice of words. We were proud of the work we did and grew so much as a system as individuals during that time. That has recently fallen apart faster than we could ever predict or react rationally to. Why? Because a group of people wanted to see us and others with mental disorders get hurt. They found a part of Nan's past that could be exploited and then displayed it all in a very twisted way. What I want to say here is that, yes, it is true that there were people on the internet who were trying to sort of find any bits of information that they could about Team Pinata, about Dissociated, about all the DID YouTubers. But as I've seen a lot of people point out, there were a lot of rumors and pieces of evidence and stories going around about all these people, but this is the one that people got angry about. And it isn't the one that just people on Kiwi Farms got angry about, this is the one that the community itself got angry about. Fans of Team Pinata and DID YouTubers, including their fiancé and partner system, said that this wasn't okay. So it wasn't actually Kiwi Farms or these certain parts of the internet that they're mentioning here that caused their downfall. It was the reaction of the DID community who weren't happy with what Team Pinata was doing. Because there have been lots of other stories from other YouTubers and from Team Pinata that the community has said, that's fine. This was the one that they said is not fine. At the time this was happening, there was heavy amnesia around 2010 to 2014. There still is. We were too triggered and scared, and we were being told by many to not address this on our social media, so we weren't able to respond in a way that was rational and effective. With the help of our treatment team and a lot of self-reflection and system communication, this is no longer the case. So main gist of this is that they kind of reacted quickly to what was happening and now have reflected more and have differing opinions from what they said originally about the situation. We are surprised by the sudden widespread shift in opinion that people had, that so many people believed the twisted lies and falsified context that were being told because they didn't understand what was being presented to them. No one had the full story. We also understand that the public opinion was being heavily influenced behind the scenes by another large DID YouTuber, aggravating mob mentality and hostility within the community, which was devastating to discover. Okay, so, I didn't read this fully in my own time. I skimmed over this. So they're saying another large DID YouTuber was doing things behind the scenes to make everybody dislike them. I'm not inclined to believe that they're talking about Dissociated, because I think if they were, they would have worded this a bit differently. Then the only big names that come to mind, and I'm talking in terms of subscriber count, would be Multiplicity and Me and the Entropy System. And I know the Entropy System has been very vocal about things that have happened with Dissociated, but they haven't said much about Nan or Team Pinata. And Multiplicity and Me had stuff to say about the Anthony Padilla video. But I haven't heard that either of them was pulling any strings behind the scenes, so I'm not sure what this is referring to, and I probably shouldn't guess. To be honest, this is why the beauty community is easier to cover, because they just name names. I don't have to guess anything. They just say what's up. But yeah, I would be very interested in hearing who they're talking about. Anyway, they go on to say this YouTuber was very kind to her face, said they were trying to help, and admitted they understood nothing about fetishes outside their own bias. We'd like to think that this YouTuber didn't have any malice behind their actions and acted out of being triggered. Okay, so big DID YouTuber betrayed us, but they were probably triggered. That is that paragraph. Before we talk more about the issues that this has brought up and more trauma recovery, I want to talk about the disruption this has had in our life and the lives of people in the community. This is not to manipulate or guilt trip anyone. The truth of the gravity of the situation should be known. Since being exiled from the community, we have become aware that the hate towards leading members of the community has continued. They mean Dissociated and probably some other YouTubers, I don't know why they don't just say names, and been successful. The community is now divided, broken, falling apart, become unsafe for many survivors and systems. Advocacy for DID and support for those with DID has come to a point of dysfunction, disorder, and drama. People are lashing out at each other in ways reminiscent of schoolyard bullying. Words are being twisted, traumas are being exploited, and motives behind actions are being grossly misassumed. I'm frankly shocked at this. This is not the community we try to support. I get it, people are triggered. When someone with trauma is triggered, they experience a flare-up of the amygdala, the emotional control center of the brain, and the prefrontal cortex, the logic center of the brain, doesn't function to its highest capacity. Logic isn't able to be accessed as easily. Emotions control the brain. When one is triggered, brain function works on being safe and eliminating the perceived threat, rather than thinking things through rationally. This is an unfortunate but valid after effect of severe trauma. Okay, they're sort of right. I get what they're trying to say. So, if you have, say you have trauma in your past, you're not currently going through anything traumatic and you're not currently being triggered in any way. It's past trauma. It can, in some ways, sort of damage the brain so that your prefrontal cortex doesn't function to its highest capacity. As they said, the logic center. And the amygdala, which is, to put it very simply, the emotional center, will react to things more strongly, so we'll go into fight or flight more easily. Now, the thing with the prefrontal cortex not functioning to its highest capacity is that in the context of being traumatized in your past, it doesn't mean that you can't have any logic. It doesn't mean that you can't think rationally. In some cases it can, but generally it means that you have trouble regulating your emotions, you have trouble focusing, and you're not great at reacting appropriately or making decisions. But it doesn't mean that you have no ability to logic and reason, which seems sort of like what they're implying. But they're not talking about if you have past trauma, they're talking about being currently triggered, which I feel like is very important to point out, that being triggered is not a long process. Being triggered means that, say, something has triggered a trauma response in me, for example. That's going to be sort of a quicker function of the brain, where the amygdala is firing very highly and going into fight or flight or freeze. And in those cases, you go into full survival mode. But you are not triggered for days at a time or weeks at a time. That's not a trigger. That's experiencing symptoms of PTSD, which does affect your brain differently. So it's very important to point that out, just to clear up any confusion that somebody has. Anyway, let's move on with this post. How we were triggered too. When Nan found out that their drawings, which they'd never received, discussed, or hate for, and had never been viewed by peers as something wrong, were being twisted into something as appalling as CSEM, they were triggered. Jara was triggered. I was fucking triggered. Important to point out as well, if you don't know where these posts were before that people were seeing them, they were on the internet, but they were sort of, there was a Tumblr blog which was tagged as sneezing fetishes and things like that. And there was also sort of sneezing fetish communities. So that would kind of explain why they weren't met with disgust. As for peers not reacting in disgust, I don't know, I wasn't there, I'm not gonna guess. We were also deeply confused. How could people see anything sexual in the drawings they did of cartoon characters? Fully clothed, just sneezing, or in non-sexual comics involving sneezing. Right, so yes, some people do have problems with the drawings of children sneezing when they're fully clothed, because Nan had said that they had a sneezing fetish and it was the only thing that could get them off. But not everybody had a problem with that because they were drawings of fully clothed children. What everybody had a problem with was the drawings of children, or children doing explicit things. That's a little bit less arguable as to whether that's okay or not. They were posted on a fetish forum and other sites with the trust that these drawings wouldn't be viewed as just cute and endearing as homage to characters. I want to be very unbiased and, just give you the facts of the matter, but the facts of the matter here is that you don't post pictures to a fetish forum because you think they won't be taken seriously. That doesn't make any sense. That's a dumb sentence. I'm sorry, people are getting mad at me now for saying that, but I'm trying to figure out a way to explain this. That would be like me filming myself eating clothed, right? Film myself eating clothed and putting that on Pornhub and thinking that people who fetishize eating aren't going to watch that and get off to it. It doesn't make sense. And look, to be fair, obviously there is a possibility that that was their intention, but it just seems unlikely. The actual graphic pictures Nan drew were on a protected adult site depicting young adult and adult characters, not children, and had been on that site for years prior to all this. Most of the sexual images, except those in commission, were drawn from 2010 to 2014, during the darkest time in our life. During that time, Nan and others in our system were trying to discover their sexuality, and lack thereof. Big opinion warning, right? This is just what I have to say about this, but this one little bit really bothers me, because I know a guy who was arrested for child pornography. He wasn't a friend of mine, but he was a friend of a friend, and I'd hung out with him a few times. And he had been blackmailing and catfishing minors to get pictures of them and videos of them, and then it came out that he was also trading them with people in Russia. And now why this is related is because he got off easy from the police, the guards, because he said that at the time he was in a dark place of his life, he was really depressed, and he was confused about his sexuality. He didn't know if he was gay or not. And it's just, I know what they did wasn't the same thing. I can see that drawings and actually catfishing minors is not the same thing. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I am saying the excuses are the same, which I don't like, and that bothers me. Again, making it very clear, I'm not saying they're the same thing. I'm not saying that at all. Nan used characters they invented for a comic book and were dear to their heart to explore their sexuality, as real people were too frightening to explore that with, which is one of the reasons why Ace split off. Nan had come to terms with their asexuality at this point and knows they don't experience typically sexual scenarios as arousing whatsoever. Nan desperately tried to figure out why people were now thinking that they were. Jer and Nan both freaked out, assuming that their drawings must be wrong, since so many people were against us. Nan must be a bad person, because so many people were saying they were. I was furious at Nan for the way their past was twisted, which was unfair. Nan apologized to the community and opened up vulnerably about their fetish, but it wasn't accepted. We were chased off the internet in a matter of days, took down all the videos on the channel we worked hard to create, deleted the Instagram, left the DID conference we were looking forward to attending, and spent the next several weeks in a cycle of self-hate, confusion, depression, and terror. A lot of people on Twitter have a problem with this specific part of the post, because in this one paragraph it sounds like they're saying we apologized before, but we shouldn't have had to have apologized because it wasn't actually our fault, we didn't actually do anything wrong, and we were driven out of the community for no reason. So naturally, a lot of people who are against what Team Pinata did and what Nan specifically did are angry about this part. And the main argument being that they weren't kicked off the platform for having a sneezing fetish. They were kicked off the platform for drawing sexual pictures of children, not for having a sneezing fetish. There is a big difference there, and we need to recognize the difference. We are responsible for our own emotional well-being and our own trauma recovery. We've gotten help from professionals who've seen what Nan drew, what was written in the past, and what a particular hate site has posted regarding private details of our life growing up into young adulthood. I don't know why they always keep saying a hate site, this anonymous hate site. It's Kiwi Farms. We all know it's Kiwi Farms. Why aren't we saying it's Kiwi Farms? I don't get it. See, the beauty community names names, they name everything, they give every little detail, and everyone else is like, this particular YouTuber, this person, this website, this hate website. It's Kiwi Farms. And also the professional that they're talking about, they had a post a little while ago, I think on their Patreon, saying that they'd spoken to their therapist and a kinkologist. And I didn't know a kinkologist was a thing, so there you go. They've seen the drawings that people label as CP and are shocked that people think it's actually CP. There are definite CP drawings, so I don't know if these professionals have seen all of the drawings or just some. Okay, so this next very long paragraph is sort of rehashing what they've already said, which is that they don't think they've done anything wrong. These weren't meant to be taken seriously. They didn't understand what they were doing in the past, and professionals say that they did nothing wrong. So they've already kind of said this. They also go on to talk about other people being hurt and triggered again, which on Twitter a lot of people have taken this as Team Pinata and Riven saying that it's other people's fault for being triggered. And they say mob mentality adds fuel to the fire, sweeping up anyone who may question these accusations. The hate site, Kiwi Farms, that posted the misappropriated information on us knew what sort of language could be used to best manipulate and exploit an already traumatized community. I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to give Kiwi Farms that much credit to think about the language they're using. I think they just say whatever they want. We've had our voice stripped away and discredited, starting with a website that was created to make fun of and hate on folks with mental disorders. Kiwi Farms. Still don't get why we're not saying the name of the site, but... Since that time, this hate site has set its sights on other members of the DID community. The community has turned in on itself, tearing itself apart, hating on other public figures within the community who are just people too, and everything falls into chaos. So, I guess this is referencing to the entropy system left, fragmented psych, left for a bit but then came back again, but they did get a lot of hate thrown at them. They also talked about Bobo and Co, axolotls in a trench coat, and then they have one plurals thread where they talk about sort of lesser known people in the community, and a lot of them have been fighting with each other as well, especially because there's a lot of differing opinions on the dissociated issue. We see this happening, see the hate in the rest of the world happening, and have been forced to stay silent out of fear. We, as trauma survivors, have yet again been stripped of our voice, a voice we've all worked damn hard at finding after years of recovery. It f***ing hurts, and it's taken weeks of talking to professionals and healing from this re-traumatization to find our strength to have a voice again. And again, people on Twitter have taken a problem with this part of this whole post, saying that their voice was taken away when really it's their fault. But it sounds like they're putting the blame on everybody else. We won't be associating with the DID community anymore. It's shown itself to be a toxic place for us and many others. Public advocates of this community who are just traumatized people themselves are being dehumanized, forced to apologize for things over and over with no avail, having to endure cruel, aggressive bullying and slander from people within their own community, and having their motives questioned unfairly. They're probably talking about dissociated here, but again, they don't say any names. They aren't allowed to make mistakes, struggle, or grow from their past. People expect those in public positions to give up their right to privacy, their right to safety, and their right to pursue their own mental well-being for the public's own emotional gratification. Since emotional gratification can't come from outside oneself, the hate goes on and on. This aggression disparages systems in need from having a safe place to come to and gravely hinders the spread of DID awareness. I'm deeply disappointed that a community of traumatized, wounded people, many of whom have suffered bullying and emotional abuse for a great deal of their lives, have dealt with not being believed or listened to, gone through betrayal and abandonment, and experienced not having a voice, would treat us and others with their own community in this re-traumatizing, judgmental way. So this is the part of the post that most people online are talking about, because this is straight out saying, you're all being unfair to us, to the big DID YouTubers, and you're bullying us. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here that I am going to skip over, because I've already been recording for over an hour, and it's a lot of repeating what they've already said, and talking about how they were treated badly, their coping mechanisms, all that sort of stuff. And they also say how they know that talking about all of this is going to bring backlash. People are going to say bad things about them, which they are if you just search Team Pinata on Twitter or you go on Kiwi Farms, although they never have anything nice to say, so I don't know why I use that as an example. But yeah, people do have bad things to say, so they're right on that front. Childhood trauma leaves scars that don't go away. The trauma occurred while the brain was developing, leaving the adult brain permanently affected. Some of the resulting disorders, like DID, won't ever go away. There are many trauma disorders and conditions that are just not talked about. Trauma in general, especially childhood trauma, doesn't have a lot of safe dialogue around it. It's hard to talk about the fucked up ways in which trauma twists the lives of people. Many are silenced out of shame. This only perpetuates the stigma against trauma survivors and trauma conditions like DID, enabling more abuse to keep going on within the secret corners of the world that no one wants to look at, and keeping survivors from being honest about their trauma, keeping them from getting the help they need. So in this respect, I've actually made a video talking sort of about what they're talking about here. Because when the stuff came out about Nan, people were asking, well, like, this can't be true because Nan was abused as a child, so how could they do anything wrong? So the video I made was basically discussing how often it actually does happen that people who are hurt as children grow up to hurt other people as adults. And I also mentioned how that is not a valid excuse for anything. But the problem is here, they're not trying to give that as a reason for you to understand. It sounds more like they're trying to excuse their own behavior by saying that they have been traumatized, rather than saying, this is the explanation of why I've done it. Now, they also go ahead to say that they are going to be doing videos talking about trauma, spreading positive messages, and talking with professionals. And they want to talk about their experience as survivors and as being a DID system. But they say, however, at this point, there's no care for making advocating for the DID community our job again. We couldn't advocate for the DID community anymore, even if we were accepted back. So this is kind of confusing because they're saying that they're not going to be in the DID community, but they're also saying that they want to make videos. But the thing is, that's also what Dissociated said. They said they weren't going to be in the DID community anymore, but they were still going to make videos about having DID. So a lot of people don't really understand what that means, how you can make videos about DID but not be a part of the community. But from what they're saying here, they don't plan on making it their job again. So I don't know if that means they're not going to monetize their videos, they're going to have an actual job, like an office job, and then just do videos whenever they feel like it. Not really sure. Nobody really knows what this means. So I guess we just have to wait until they make videos to see what they mean by that. Anyway, they move on to talk a little bit more about that. They say that they're sorry that drama was caused in the community, and they're sorry that the drawings that Nan had done were distributed all over the internet. They don't actually apologize for the drawings themselves because, as they said at the beginning of this very long post, that they don't feel like they did anything wrong. Anyway, they also have made an edit on this post since I first opened it, which is addressing a rumor which I didn't even hear about before. It's very long, so I'm not going to read it, so I'll just put it up on screen for you. Anyway, this video is far too long. I do want to point out that originally there were comments on this post because as I see it, it says 235 comments, but if you try to open them, it says that they were disabled. So comments were turned off at some point. I assume that means they got a lot of backlash, maybe more than they were expecting. But again, if you search Team Pinata on Twitter, there's nothing positive. It's just all people angry. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that here. I think it's fair to say that most people have not accepted this. And we do just have to wait and see what they mean that they're gonna make videos, but they're not gonna be a part of the community. Really not sure what that means. If anybody knows, please explain it to me. I guess it just sort of means that they're not gonna be going to events or collaborating with other DID YouTubers. Or maybe it means they won't post anything about their personal lives on their channels anymore, which, to be honest, if you wanna make educational content, then yeah, probably don't put stuff about your personal life. Anyway, too long of a video. Tell me in the comments what you thought about this whole situation. And as I said at the start of the video, please subscribe and click the bell button to get notifications when I upload. And you can also follow me on social media. Like, comment, share, check out the memberships, and do everything that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of a video. and have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.